You have not truly celebrated a new year until you see the Mummers Parade, which takes place on New Year's Day, January 1st, every year in Philadelphia. It's a magically crazy event that takes over the streets of southern Philadelphia and celebrates the incredibly diverse and culturally rich history of the U.S. Thousands of people from the local communities take part and spend months leading up to the event training, learning choreography, and performances for the big day to showcase and represent their districts or clubs. It's a celebration of dance, music, and costumes, and serves as a fantastical start to the new year and what's to come.
I'm Palma Lucas. I'm a board of director here at the Golden Sunrise Fancy Club, Philadelphia Mummers. We've been around since the early colonial times, celebrating New Year's in our own special way. We're everyday working people. We make all our own costumes. We're not sponsored. Our traditions and our roots date all the way back to the early colonial days in the 1600s when the people from Sweden came here and they settled. They used to shoot off guns, bang pots, make loud noises to shoo away all the bad things in the old year and welcome in the good year. And then each group that came, followed by the English and William Penn, they brought the tradition of Christmas mumming from England, and that became part of it with the costumes and going house to house. And it just kept evolving. Every group that came brought something from their country to celebrate New Year.
If you live in the Philadelphia area or plan on spending your holiday there, the Mummers Parade is the place to be, so don't go too wild the night before. This 120-year-old parade is a staple of the Philadelphia cultural scene, with tens of thousands of people taking part, making it one of the most exciting events on the U.S. calendar. It all started in the mid-17th century when the first parade was created, infusing dance, music, and costume styles from Swedish, Irish, German, and African cultures and heritages to celebrate art and tradition. It was also loosely based on the British and Irish Mummers play, which were folk plays performed by troupes of amateur actors, almost like pantomimes, but with more of a mythical narrative.
I'll save thee to eternity!
Stand back, thou grim, forbidden dog! I'm gonna put many holes in you, and I'll let
the Mummers derive their name from the Mummers play performed in Philadelphia in the 18th century as part of a wide variety of working-class street celebrations around Christmas. By the early 19th century, these combined with earlier Swedish customs, including the Christmas neighbors' visits and possibly shooting firearms on New Year's Day, as well as the Pennsylvania German custom of Belchnickling, where adults in disguise question children about their behavior during the previous year. Could you imagine that now? U.S. President George Washington carried on the official custom of New Year's Day calls during the 7 years he occupied the president's house in Philadelphia. The Mummers continued their traditions of comic verse in exchange for cakes and ale. Small groups of up to 20 mummers, their faces blackened, went door to door, shooting and shouting and adapting the English mummers play by replacing the character of King George with that of General Washington. Through the 19th century, large groups of working-class young men, disguised often in blackface, roamed the streets of New Year's Day, organizing righteous processions, firing weapons into the air, demanding free drinks in taverns, and generally challenging middle and upper-class notions of order and decorum. We don't have to get into the civil rights movement or the fact that blackface is just not politically correct, but just wrong. This practice went the way of the dinosaur, you would think. In 2020, 2 mummers were banned from future parades after wearing blackface. Why they thought that was even a good idea, who the hell knows? In response, Mayor Kim Kenney said the city would end the parade if Mummers leadership does not make immediate changes to better control the parade. City Council member Cindy Bass introduced a bill that mummers who wore blackface risk a $70 fine and a 5-year banishment. You think we wouldn't need a law here? You think common sense would prevail? But let's not let a couple of boneheads define this great event. In 2016, a group presented a Mexican-themed skit with all of the performers wearing brownface. Parodies of Black Lives Matter continued. The same year, Finnegan New Year's Brigade presented a Caitlyn Jenner skit showing her pre-transition on the cover of a Wheaties box and after transitioning on the cover of a Fruit Loops box. A male mummer dressed as Jenner appeared mocking her Vanity Fair cover, announcing she was transgender. News reports showed a mummer with the Wheaties Fruit Loops sign screaming, "Fuck the gays." Social media posts led to the two of the mummers being fired from their day-to-day jobs and ousted from the club. Now keep in mind, these are actions of a select few and don't define this year's event. I bring these happenings to light because the people engaged in these actions clearly missed the point of the origins of the parade. The Mummers Parade is to celebrate diversity in cultures, not exploit them. It's amazing how a select few are still stuck in the 19th and 20th centuries, but don't let these select few ruin this celebration or put it in a bad light. Naturally, through the years, the Mummers Parade has grown and evolved into a massive celebration that today symbolizes the amalgamation and coming together of different cultures in America and pays homage to those rich backgrounds and heritage of people that chose to participate in the actual parade events. Today, local clubs who have started referring to themselves as New Year's Brigades collectively will compete in one of 5 categories, including comics, wench brigades, fancies, string bands, and fancy brigades. They spend months creating elaborate costumes, performance routines, and movable scenery. This is done in clubhouses, many of which are located on or near 2nd Street in the Penn Sport neighborhood of the city's South Philadelphia section, and serve as social gathering places for members. The first official parade was held on January 1st of 1901. The first string band, Shelby, was organized in 1898, first paraded in 1902, and last paraded in 2014. In the early years of the official parade, the makeshift costumes of most celebrants were gradually replaced by more elaborate outfits funded by associations' fundraising efforts. The parade has been broadcast since 1993 on WPHL-TV, which has also live-streamed the event on its website since 2011. After a national campaign to get the parade nationally televised, an edited 2-hour broadcast of the parade was picked up by WGN America and WGN TV. The broadcast debuted on January 3rd of 2009. The official parade has been canceled only thrice during its history. One happened in 1919 as a result of the Spanish flu epidemic, when many public events were canceled. Another occurred in 1934 due to the effects of the Great Depression and a lack of prize money, and in 2021 on the grounds of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are the only city in the United States where all of these traditions blended together and formed the one-day celebration that we have here.
What is today? The Mummers Parade is held every New Year's Day, January 1st, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you're watching this video in 2023, make sure you tune in to WDPN TV, that's MeTV2, to watch this year's parade, or check the Googles for airings. Happy New Year's, everyone. I hope it is a happy and safe one for you. Until next time.
After I say I'm sorry, what can I do to prove it to you? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ever be mean to you. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be like I do. I was all wrong, but right or wrong, I don't blame you. Why should I take somebody like you and shame you? I made you cry, and I'm so sorry, dear. So what can I say, dear, after I say I'm sorry?
National Science Fiction Day is unofficially celebrated by many science fiction fans in the United States on January 2nd, which corresponds with the official birth date of famed science fiction writer Isaac Asimov. While not an official holiday of any sort in the sense that it is not recognized or declared by any government, National Science Fiction Day is given some degree of credence by its recognition by organizations such as the Hallmark Channel and by the Scholastic Corporation. It is also listed in the National Day Calendar.
What is it that draws readers to science fiction?
My own feeling is that science fiction is the relevant literary form for today. Of all the different types of fiction, science fiction is the only one which takes as its basic assumption that societies are going to change, and which sets its stories against a fundamentally different society. It's something with great differences in it, whether it's time travel, whether it's overcrowdedness, whether it's space travel, whatever. It's not the present society. And
well, there was a phrase you used, and I think what was your very first novel. You talked about the awful powers of darkness. Is the whole question of magic and fantasy and mystery and myth what brings people to it as well?
some people have that theory, but I don't.
I see.
Because there is real fantasy now. There are, for instance, the Lord of the Rings, that trilogy. There is Tolkien one. Watership Down right now is an excellent fantasy by a fellow called Adams. People who want that can still find it undiluted. No, I think science fiction refers to different societies which are connected to ours through scientific and technological change. There is always that feeling that we are heading right now rapidly into changing societies. People who are young people today know that when they're middle-aged, life will be nothing like what it is now. And science fiction gives them an opportunity to try on different societies. It's the only thing that's relevant. Anything which deals with the world of today is going to have no meaning to young people of today when, say, 30 years from now.
Isaac Asimov was born on January 2nd of 1920 and lived to the age of 72 until passing away on April 6th of 1992. Asimov was an American writer and professor of biochemistry at the Boston University. During his lifetime, Asimov was considered one of the big three science fiction writers, along with Robert A. Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke. A prolific writer, he wrote or edited more than 500 books. He also wrote an estimated 90,000 letters and postcards. Best known for his hard science fiction, Asimov also wrote mysteries and fantasy, as well as much nonfiction. Asimov's most famous work is the Foundation series, the first three books of which won the one-time Hugo Award for Best All-Time Series in 1966. His other major series are the Galactic Empire series and the Robot series. The Galactic Empire novels are set in the much earlier history of the same fictional universe as the Foundation series. Later, with Foundation and Earth in 1986, he linked this distant future to the Robot stories, creating a unified future history for his stories. He also wrote over 380 short stories, including the social science fiction novella Nightfall, which in 1964 was voted the best short science fiction story of all time by the Science Fiction Writers of America. Asimov wrote the Lucky Star series of juvenile science fiction novels using the pen name Paul French. Asimov was certainly a flawed man, and perhaps we can get into that next January 2nd. Let's just say he had a habit of touching women inappropriately, but we'll stick his science fiction contribution this time out and his influence on the genre. According to John Jenkins, who has reviewed the vast majority of Asimov's written output, once observed, it has been pointed out that most science fiction writers since the 1950s has been affected by Asimov. either modeling their style on his or deliberately avoiding anything like his style, along with such figures as Bertrand Russell and Karl Popper. Asimov left his mark as one of the most distinguished interdisciplinarities of the 20th century. I had no idea what that word meant when I read it on Wikipedia. If you don't know either, interdisciplinarity involves the combination of multiple academic disciplines into one activity. It draws knowledge from several other fields like sociology, anthropology, psychology, economics, etc. It is about creating something by thinking across boundaries. So now we know, and knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe. Few individuals, writes James L. Christian, understood better than Isaac Asimov what synoptic thinking is all about. His almost 500 books, which he wrote as a specialist, a knowledgeable authority, or just an excited layman, range over almost all conceivable subjects: the sciences, history, literature, religion, and of course, science fiction. Now, science fiction is the genre of speculative fiction that typically deals with imaginative and futuristic concepts such as advanced sciences and technology, space exploration, time travel, parallel universes, extraterrestrial life, sentient artificial intelligence, cybernetics, certain forms of mortality, and singularity. Science fiction predicted several existing inventions such as the atomic bomb, robots, lasers, whose names entirely match their fictional predecessors. In addition, science fiction might serve as an outlet to facilitate future scientific and technological innovations. Science fiction can trace its roots to ancient mythology. It is also related to fantasy, horror, and superhero fiction, and contains many subgenres. Its exact definition has long been disputed among authors, critics, scholars, and readers. Science fiction in literature, film, television, and other media has become popular and influential over much of the world. It has been called the literature of ideas and often explores the potential consequences of scientific, social, and technological innovations. It is also often said to inspire a sense of wonder. Besides providing entertainment, it can also criticize present-day society and explore alternatives. National Science Fiction Day on January 2nd is the perfect day to celebrate this type of story, as well as Asimov's legacy. Science fiction touches so many different areas of literature that most people can find one area that they love. Science fiction can include stories based in space with aliens like E.T., or space battles like Star Wars. The genre also includes time travel, such as H.G. Wells' famous book, The Time Machine, or the Doctor Who franchise. Even superhero movies can involve science fiction. After all, who would believe the talking raccoon, as in Guardians of the Galaxy, or the rock-like skin of the Thing in the Fantastic Four without the science fiction angle? If you're fascinated by the unknown and by the possibilities of what science can bring in the future, you probably would be, or already are, a fan of science fiction. And that's why National Science Fiction Day is the perfect day to celebrate all these different books, movies, and television shows. You may not love sci-fi enough to consume its stories every day, but this special day is a great opportunity to spark your imagination. What is today? National Science Fiction Day, and also the birthday of Mr. Isaac Asimov. Both take place every year on January 2nd. Pick up your favorite science fiction book and give it a read. Pop in your favorite science fiction movie or television show and give it a watch. Celebrate National Science Fiction Day, and until next time. National Chocolate Covered Cherry Day on January 3rd is for celebrating that combo that just naturally seems to go together. No, not peanut butter and jelly, not even peanut butter and chocolate, or it would be called National Chocolate Covered Peanut Butter Day. I'm talking cherries and chocolate here. Just as the holiday festivities are behind us and a new year begins, we look forward to the luscious confection that puts a smile on everyone's face and brightens our outlook for whatever waits for us in the new year ahead.
Cherry blossom, well, it's thick chocolate on the outside. And it's creamy on the inside. When you get to the center, it's a very special center. It's a cherry special peanut crunchy chocolate coated creamy center. Cherry blossom.
Chocolate-covered cherries, also known as cherry cordials, have been enjoyed by Americans and indeed the world for generations. Early settlers from Europe were so fond of cherries they made sure that some were stashed among the cargo when they sailed the Atlantic Ocean to reach America in the 1600s. Cherries were a local crop in the Franche-Comté region, I guess, and they were in abundance. According to CandyFavorites.com, chocolate cherry cordials were first developed in the 1700s under the alternative name of Griots, Griottes. The name of the local cherry species, Griots, I'm not sure how you really pronounce that, are from the Franche-Comté region of France. They consisted of sour Griotte cherries enclosed in a chocolate casing. A Griotte was made by dipping the sour Griotte cherries in chocolate and kirsch or cherry brandy. Unsurprisingly, this delicious concoction was a hit, and these yummy round treats eventually made their way to America. And forgive me if I mispronounce these words. I am not French. I can barely handle English. Liqueur chocolate cherries quickly became a beloved sweet treat in America. Other cordial candies were created, but chocolate-covered cherries remained the most popular. These tasty balls of joy evolved over time and eventually were enjoyed with a sugar syrup instead of liqueur, a similar concept to maraschino cherries.
These are Mount Morency tart cherries. They usually ripen the first week in July and they last 10 days to 2 weeks. And we machine harvest most of them, but we do have a U-pick operation. And we have a small pitter that we pit people's cherries if they pick them here and so choose. When you pick cherries, basically you go for color, and the darker the red, the riper the fruit. Orange cherries they're not quite mature, they're not quite ripe yet. These right here are perfect, they're red, they're good size. There's a big crop this year, biggest crop we've had in a long time, okay? That's why there's still a lot of orange cherries out here. They take longer to ripen when there's more cherries on the tree. So basically you just put your hand underneath and just give them a slight pull, and they come off very easily when they're ripe. So, and then the pitter, well, a lot of people pit them with clothespins, tweezers, and straws. I've heard straws, you push a straw through them, but of course our pitter does it all mechanically.
These days, chocolate-covered cherries can be made in a variety of ways, one being the use of a shell mold. Chocolate is poured into a mold to become a shell, and then cordial or sugar syrup is added along with the cherry. They can also be enrobed, which involves pouring liquid chocolate over the cherries or dipping them into melted chocolate. Although there are a variety of cherries now considered to be native to North America, the common belief is that cherries originated in Turkey. Cherries are known to be one of the oldest cultivated crops in the world, and it seems as though our love of cherries is deeply ingrained in human culture. Americans began making cordials using a strong, sugary syrup liqueur by crushing whole cherries, cooking them in sugar and brandy, and covering them with chocolate. These became known as cherry cordials, but other fruits were also made into cordials using the same brandy and sugar method. Cherry cordials were the most popular and usually reserved for holidays and special festivities. Eventually, the alcohol was removed from the recipe during Prohibition, and cherry cordials were instead made with cherry-flavored sugar syrup. By 1929, the first chocolate-covered cherries made with sugar syrup and no alcohol began to be mass-produced in America to meet the increased demand.
These cherries are brought to you by Burlington Northern. We bring carloads of cherries 2,027 miles by rail at a cost to you of about 3 cents a pound. Burlington Northern's been doing a lot to save you a little money, like moving trains more economically by pulling bigger carloads with more powerful diesels. So when Burlington Northern brings cherries to Chicago, we don't take much of a bite.
So you want to make yourself some chocolate-covered cherries? It's pretty easy, actually. In actuality, you really only need 2 ingredients if you want to take the simple way out. I'm a lazy man, so I'll tell you the lazy way to do it. All you need is prepackaged chocolate wafers and cherries, of course. Melt the chocolate in the microwave. Throw in your cherries after. Wait a few minutes for everything to dry, and boom! Instant chocolate-covered cherries. Alright, maybe that's not how you do things. It's certainly how I do things. If you want to take the long way, then do this. First, drain the cherries of all their juices and set them on a paper towel to dry. Next, combine the softened butter and corn syrup in a stand mixer and beat until smooth. Beat it, just like Michael Jackson. Stir in powdered sugar and then either use a dough hook or your hands to knead until the mixture forms a dough. You may need to chill the dough until it's nice and firm. See, already this is a pain in the butt. Then flatten out about a teaspoon of the dough in your palms and wrap each cherry. Place them on a tray or cookie sheet and pop them into the fridge or freezer until they're firm. Meanwhile, melt chocolate in a microwave-safe bowl combined with the oil for about 20 seconds at a time, stirring each time until the chocolate is just melted and completely smooth. Now dip each cherry into the chocolate while holding onto the stem and place on a baking sheet lined with wax paper or parchment paper. You can try to gently shake off the excess chocolate as well, then let them cool. And now for the hard part, leave them alone. Place in an airtight container and store in a cool place for 2 weeks. It promises the chocolate cordials to taste best if you wait until the fondant softens, which is a couple weeks. Or like I said, just stick the chocolate in the freaking microwave, take it out, throw the cherries in there, wait a couple minutes, let it hard, and then go to town. But either way.
Right, girls, listen carefully. This is the wrapping department.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the candy will pass by on this conveyor belt and continue into the next room where the girls will pack it. Now, your job is to take each piece of candy and wrap it in one of these papers and then put it back on the belt. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this okay. Listen, Ethel, I think this... I think we're fighting a losing game.
What is today? National Chocolate Covered Cherry Day, January 3rd. Will you be celebrating? What did you say? Your New Year's resolution is to cut out chocolate and lose weight. Well, sucks to be you. I guess you'll have to wait for National Tofu Day. I, for one, am going to down this box of chocolate-covered cherries. And until next time... Tom Thumb Day is celebrated on January 4th to commemorate the legacy of Charles Sherwood Stratton, the greatest actor of his time, born on January 4th of 1838 in the silent streets of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Charles went on to achieve global acclaim under the patronage of his mentor and adoptee, circus pioneer P.T. Barnum. Stratton, a dwarf, evaded the stigma that comes with a disability and took his talent all the way to the courtyard of Queen Victoria. On his birth anniversary, we come together to acknowledge his lasting legacy in the entertainment industry and the many paths he paved for the little people of his time.
Welcome back to the vlog. Jason is back here at the Mountain Grove Cemetery and Mausoleum back in Bridgeport, Connecticut to talk about Charles Sherwood Stratton, or as you may know him, General Tom Thumb.
Charles Sherwood Stratton was born on January 4th of 1838 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Although he had a normal appearance at the time of his birth, he stopped showing signs of physical development after 6 months due to a growth hormone deficiency. He remained 25 inches tall until the age of 9 when he started growing very slowly again, and his final height measured at 3 foot 4 inches. By late 1842, at almost 5 years old, Stratton had grown only 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, from when he was 6 months old and had not gained any weight. Apart from this, he was a completely normal, healthy child with several siblings who were of average size. His body was proportionate and functional. At the age of 4, circus maestro P.T. Barnum, a distant relative of Stratton's, recognized his talent and decided to mentor him. He informally adopted the boy and taught him how to sing, dance, mime, and impersonate.
I was obsessed with the biggest things, the greatest shows, but also the smallest things.
The smallest, also a wonder unto itself.
That includes Barnum's most famous performer, Tom Thumb, a little person who Barnum found at age 5 and started exhibiting at 6. Thumb's staged wedding in 1863 was a sensation that helped distract the nation from the Civil War.
So this outfit is 175 years old.
This is, yes, at the math, it goes back probably to about 1850. It's the Napoleon costume that Tom actually wore at his performances.
When you say performances, what is that? What do you mean?
He would sing, he would dance, he would joke. He actually had a cigar. He would even drink wine.
A 6-year-old.
It sounds absurd, but child stars have been around for a very long time.
Soon enough, Barnum's dedicated tutelage came to fruition, as Stratton became one of the main acts of his New York City museum. As the duo started their American tour, Barnum gave Stratton a new stage name, Tom Thumb, based on a character of English folklore.
Barnum's American Museum was where P.T. Barnum became globally famous. A grand, multi-story building in Lower Manhattan, the museum drew millions of visitors for 25 cents admission. Visitors to the American Museum could take in fine art, stereographs of foreign cities, taxidermy and live animals, human curiosities, a rooftop garden, and live theater. It was also America's first large-scale public aquarium with water pumped from the East River to house a whale in the basement. After the first American Museum was destroyed by fire in 1865, Barnum built a second uptown within the year. This too burned, but in the years under Barnum's management, the American Museum drew more foot traffic than Disneyland in a similar time. That's today's Barnum's Fun Fact, and if you didn't know, now you do.
Tom Thumb was published in 1621, and his adventures include being swallowed by a cow, tangling with giants, and becoming a favorite of King Arthur. The earliest allusions to Tom occur in various 16th century works, such as Reginald Scott's Discovery of Witchcraft from 1584, where Tom is cited as one of the supernatural folk employed by servant maids to frighten children. Tattershall in Lincolnshire, England, reputably has the home and grave of Tom Thumb. Aside from his own tales, Tom figures in Henry Fielding's 1730 play Tom Thumb, a companion piece to his author's farce. It was expanded into a single 1731 piece titled The Tragedy of Tragedies, or The History of Tom Thumb the Great. In the mid-18th century, books began to be published specifically for children, some with their authorship attributed to Tommy Thumb, and by the mid-19th century, Tom was a fixture of the nursery library. The tale took on moral overtones, and some writers, such as Charlotte Mary Young, cleansed questionable passages. Dinah Mullock, however, refrained from scrubbing the tale of its vulgarities. Tom Thumb's story has been adapted into several films. P.T. Barnum billed the living Tom Thumb as an 11-year-old dwarf from England when Stratton was just 5 years old. On the stage, Stratton impersonated characters such as Napoleon and Cupid. Barnum took young Stratton on a tour of Europe, making him an international celebrity. Stratton was invited and appeared twice before Queen Victoria at Buckingham Palace. He also met the 3-year-old future King Edward VII, at that time the Prince of Wales. His performance for Queen Victoria and the subsequent tour earned him star status in London. In 1845, he triumphed at the Théâtre du Vaudeville in France in the play Le Petit Posset of du Menor in Clairville. Sorry, I'm not French. The tour was a huge success, with crowds mobbing him wherever he went. After his 3-year tour in Europe, Stratton began his rise to stardom in the United States. Stratton's fame grew at an astounding rate, and his popularity and celebrity surpassed that of any actor within his lifetime. Stratton's first performance in New York marked a turning point in the history of freak show entertainment. Before Stratton's debut, the presentation of human curiosities for entertainment was deemed dishonorable and seen as an unpleasing carnival attraction. However, after viewers were introduced to Stratton and performances, he was able to change the perception people held toward freak shows. Stratton's lively and entertaining performances made these type of carnival shows one of the most favored forms of theatrical entertainment in the United States. From the age of 7, Stratton performed in grand full-length fairy tale melodramas under the management of P.T. Barnum. A few of the melodramas that Stratton performed were Hop o' My Thumb and 7 League Boots. In these melodramas, Stratton was assigned the title role, which he played on multiple occasions. While Barnum sought to capitalize on Stratton's small stature, he also aimed to highlight and showcase his many true gifts as a performer. For example, Stratton was noted to be clever in his acts. In addition, he was a talented actor, singer, dancer, and comedian. As a result, certain dramatic critics did not compare his skills to those of the freak show community, of which he was a member, but preferred to judge him on his merits as a professional entertainer. As the years passed, Stratton added many titles to his name, the greatest actor of his time being one of them. From his very first performance in New York, he breathed fresh air into the freak show entertainment world and rehabilitated the presentation of human curiosities. His marriage in 1863 to Lavinia Warren, also a little person, became front-page news. The wedding took place at Grace Episcopal Church, and the wedding reception was held at the New York City's Metropolitan Hotel. The couple stood atop a grand piano at the reception to greet some 10,000 guests. The best man at the wedding was George Washington Marrison, Commodore Nutt, another dwarf performer in Barnum's employ. The maid of honor was Minnie Warren, Lavinia's sister. Following the wedding, the couple was received by President Lincoln at the White House. Stratton and his wife toured together in Europe as well as British India, in particular the area that would later become Bangladesh. Under Barnum's management, Stratton became a wealthy man. He owned a house in a fashionable part of New York and a steam yacht, and he had a wardrobe of fine clothes. He also owned a specially adapted home on one of Connecticut's Thimble Islands. When Barnum got into financial difficulty, Stratton bailed him out. Later, they became business partners. Stratton made his final appearance in England in 1878. In January of 1883, Stratton was staying at the John F. Anstell's Newhall House in Milwaukee when a fire broke out, which Milwaukee historian John Gerda would call one of the worst hotel fires in American history. More than 71 people died, but Tom and Lavinia were saved by their manager, Sylvester Bleecker. 6 months after surviving the Newhall House fire, Stratton died unexpectedly of a stroke. He was 45 years young. Over 20,000 people attended the funeral. P.T. Barnum purchased a life-size statue of Tom Thumb and placed it as a gravestone at Mountain Grove Cemetery in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And that's the place you saw right in the beginning of this video. When she died more than 35 years later, Lavinia Warren was interred next to him with a simple gravestone that read, his wife. In 1959, vandals smashed the statue of Tom Thumb. It was restored by the Barnum Festival Society and Mountain Grove Cemetery Association with funds raised by public subscription. The cause of Stratton's extreme shortness, then unknown, is referred to today as pituitary dwarfism. X-rays were not discovered until 1895, 12 years after Stratton's death, and the medical techniques of the day were unable to ascertain the pathology, if any, underlying his diminutive size at the time. America's love for carnival shows can be partially credited to the live performance of General Tom Thumb and his decades-long dedication to the craft. Barnum didn't just capitalize on Stratton's small stature, but he also highlighted his true artistry. Stratton's ability to sing and act, coupled with his clever comedic timing, made him a true professional entertainer, one of the greatest to ever exist. It can be argued that Tom opened the door for other Little People performers through the years, and it can be argued the level of exploitation that was let in when the door was opened. I guess we can say the same for any entertainer. There can be debate about whether entertainers are exploited for a variety of attributes or not exploited at all. I'll let you answer that question individually, as this video is to celebrate the life of Tom Thumb, not to debate the actions of Barnum or any showman which we can label the movie studios or music studios of today. What is today? Tom Thumb Day. Stratton dedicated his life to the entertainment industry and became a role model for thousands of little people of his time. In many ways, he celebrated his gift, inspiring others to look beyond the things that make us different from others. I hope we can all celebrate our own diversity, and until next time. Happy National Keto Day, January 5th. We are reminded that people on ketogenic diets cut carbs out of their diet to an extent where the body starts to consume fat instead of carbohydrates for fuel. The obvious benefit of fat used for energy is weight loss, but it also helps epilepsy patients avoid seizures and is shown to increase cognitive brain function. For those wanting to start keto, be aware of possible side effects dubbed the keto flu. However, there are plenty of reliable resources online, and certainly consult a health expert. I'm going to share with you my personal struggle with weight and how a version of the keto diet made me go from 250 pounds to 210 pounds in a year. So happy January 5th and happy Keto Day. So I've had trouble with my weight ever since I was a kid. My topped off weight was 285. I think I was 15, 16 years old. Very big kid, a little shorter than I am now. The way I lost weight the first time is I just stopped eating, and that's absolutely the wrong way to do it. I discovered girls and I decided I want one of those. So I lost some weight, got thin, and went on and did whatever you do with girls. Anyways, I did it the wrong way. When you're a kid, you're stupid and you just don't eat. You can do that when you're a kid. You can't freaking do that when you're a freaking adult. So last year, 2021, May of 2021, I had a new job and a new apartment. And I was ready. My weight was 250, and I was ready to lose weight. I wanted to get back to my high school weight. BMI says I can be 170 pounds. There's no way I'm going to be 170 pounds at 6'4". I was thinking more 200. So I lost from 250 pounds, and I got down to 210, and then I broke my stupid ankle, and then I was in bed for 3 months, and I just got out like a couple weeks ago, and I ballooned back up to 225. So right now I'm 225, and I'm gonna get back, it's better than 250. I'm gonna get back to my 210, my 200. So basically what I did is keto, and I did keto not knowing that I was doing keto. I mean, I know what it is. So basically what you want to do for it is cut out carbs, and you want to cut out sugars. You don't want that, because basically it's fuel for your body, but it also stores in your body for fuel. You want the fat to be your fuel. That's how you shed pounds. So you want to stay away from the carbs, and you want to stay away from the sugar. And that's basically what keto is, simplistically. So I kind of did it, I guess. Doing it and not doing it, that's the philosophy behind keto. Now, how I did it is, and a lot of people hate it, is tofu. People complain about the consistency. Tofu has a lot of protein. It fills you up. Protein fills you up. So chicken, any protein like beef, I eat a lot of liver. I know people don't like liver, but it's not only is it inexpensive in these high prices that we're going through, but it's high in iron, and it's very good protein for you. It's very good for you, actually, and it's inexpensive. Same with this. This is only a couple bucks. This will feed me for a day. This is at least a meal, and I'll cook that up. I'll put a sauce with it. So you kind of got to be careful with the sauces. Here's a sweet chili sauce. I'm sure there's sugar in here if I could read it. So you soy sauce is great because there's really no sugar in it. And you can put it on top of like a salad or just eat it the way it is. I know people have a hard time with tofu, but it is a good way to lose weight. Another thing which is great is eggs. Eggs are perfect. I would do like 6 eggs in the morning. They're only 60 calories per egg, so that's 360 calories for a meal. If you're talking 1,200 calorie day to lose weight, depending on what your size is already, that's pretty good. So it's good for a meal. It'll fill you up. It's full of protein. Eggs are good for you. I know over the years it's gone back and forth if eggs are full of cholesterol or not. Eggs are fine to eat. I am not a doctor. Through this, obviously, I'm not Dr. Mosier, so please seek out a medical professional, a doctor, before you do any type of diet, especially if you have something already physically wrong with you, like, for example, diabetes, high blood pressure, something like that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you how I went about losing 40 pounds in a year's time. I'll also use, like, marinades, and I'll use tofu in marinades. Or chicken, a lot of chicken. Chicken has protein, obviously. So you gotta kind of be careful about this stuff. Not only is it kind of high in calorie, these are potatoes, these are Bob Evans potatoes. Any frozen food, any canned food is gonna be filled with a lot of sodium. So you really, again, that goes back to your medical professional and how your heart is doing and your blood pressure and everything. Do you need all that sodium in your diet? I had a lot of canned beans, a lot of protein in beans. I'd mix it with mayo. So that was another meal that I would do. And then of course there's greens. Any greens is good for you. Here's a salad. It's almost gone. Any greens is great. Cook them up. I know they're supposed to be better for you raw, but I don't know. Who wants to eat raw greens? Not necessarily me. So this is the shit you gotta stay away from, and this is how I gain weights. Cookies, caramel popcorn, muffins, lots of carbs, lots of sugar. So it took me from May of 2021 to June of 2022 to lose 40 pounds. So I was 210, I was actually 205 at my That's the weight I got down to in the last summer of 2022. So you can do it, take your time. I certainly cheated. I had some chocolate here and there. I had a calzone every once in a while. You can cheat, just don't do it all the time. Maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months. But try to be consistent. I know it's really difficult around the holidays too, especially we just came off them. Try to be consistent. I know a lot of people are picky about what they eat. A lot of picky people don't want tofu, but if you're gonna lose weight, you gotta kind of put picky aside. Your mission to lose weight is to feed the body, to give the body energy to go out and do what you need to do. It's great to sit down and have a fantastically good tasting meal. You gotta feed the beast. It doesn't always necessarily have to be a fantastic meal, as long as it's good for you and it's filling you up and it's making you live, which is a good thing. It doesn't always have to be, every meal doesn't have to be fantastic. You're feeding the beast is basically what you're doing. So that's why you can cheat once in a while. So if you don't like tofu, it is an acquired taste. Eat it for a while, you'll like it. I got to the point where I liked it and I do enjoy it. So that's how I got there, and I've got 15 pounds to 25 pounds to lose from now because I broke my stupid ankle. So that's it. That's my keto experience I wanted to share with you, and we'll get into where keto came from and kind of the philosophy behind it and a quick history for the rest of the video. Ketogenic diet as a modern health strategy started in the 1920s as a treatment for epilepsy in both children and adults. Later, with the introduction of effective anticonvulsant prescription drugs for seizures, keto fell out of favor with the medical community. However, some providers still recommend the regimen of a 4:1 fat to protein intake ratio and reduction in grain-based foods, sugars, and high-carb fruits instead of medicines. In 1994, Hollywood producer Jim Abrams, whose son's epilepsy was controlled by the keto diet, established the Charlie Foundation for Ketogenic Therapies. This led to broad media coverage, including an interview on Dateline and a made-for-TV movie starring Meryl Streep, directed by Abrams himself. Soon after, his foundation published a cutting-edge scientific study of ketogenic, and renewed national and international interest began to grow. So how did doctors in the early 20th century know that carb reduction would be of benefit to epileptics? The real history goes back to ancient Greece, where it was written by physicians in the Hippocratic Corpus that epilepsy was not supernatural as commonly believed, but a biological ailment that could be treated by severe fasting. In 20th century treatments and studies, it was discovered by neurologists that a starch and sugar-free diet could replicate the results of the total fasting version, and that fine-tuning and experimentation, of course, led to today's version of keto, spurred on to a great extent by the national preoccupation with weight loss. Today, the brain health benefits of keto diet are known to apply to Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, insomnia, and more. The Vitamin Shop founded National Keto Day on January 5th of 2019 to educate and bring awareness to the ketogenic diet and further highlight the many health benefits a keto lifestyle offers. What is today? January 5th is National Keto Day. We know that fasting or selective fasting produces ketones. Well, you might have known that, I didn't. But did you know that things like intense exercise can do the same thing? Ketosis is a standard human biological process. It's just that this is enhanced and maximized during the keto diet. No matter what type of diet you decide to choose, make sure you reach out to your health provider to make sure the diet is beneficial to your well-being. Now go shed off those unwanted pounds, and until next time. Happy birthday to Norman Mark Reedus, who was born on January 6th of 1969 in Hollywood, Florida. Reedus has his hands in a lot of pies of the entertainment industry. He is an actor, a model, director, artist, and photographer. While his talents know no bounds, he is most commonly known for his role in a little-known American horror TV series, The Walking Dead. Let's learn a little bit more about Mark Reedus.
Body parts, cocaine-filled condoms, little baby alligators. Shit, you wouldn't believe the stuff I'd seen. Yep, they flush them down. We fish
Norman Reedus is an American actor. Actor.
Whistler, nice to meet you, man. I heard a lot about you. Josh, you can call me Scud, though. Everybody does.
Don't you kill him!
Dad! I'm so sorry. When I called you a pedophile, I wasn't. No, not in front of my family.
Your wife left us in a truck stop in Missouri.
Hold up.
You're stopping me on 8, Daryl.
Just hold up. This is the guy that killed Lou, so we got nothing to talk about.
The thing about nowadays is we got nothing but time. Say your piece, Daryl.
These people, you're gonna let them go. These are good people.
Now, I think Lou would disagree with you on that. I'll, of course, have to speak for him and all, because your friend here strangled him in a bathroom.
You want blood? I get it. Take it from me, man.
The Boondock Saints 2, All Saints Day. I haven't seen that one. And he played Scud in Marvel's Blade 2. I have seen that one. That's actually where I first remember seeing this actor. And Marco in Deuces Wild from 2002. I never heard of that one. he certainly has job stability.
Have you had any experiences with girls?
Of course not, Mom.
A man and a woman get together and him on top of her and he has his sex thing and he puts it between her legs, goes up into her belly, and she wiggles and squirms until finally...
Ma, please, stop.
Next stop, Winbards.
All they wanted was a weekend away.
Think we're gonna make it?
I certainly hope so.
Slow down. Stop.
Is she alive?
All they offered was some kindness.
You can't throw him out in the cold. Where's he gonna go?
I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate this.
All they risked was their love.
No home, no job, no nothing. What would people say if they knew who we had here?
Can I ask you a question? Do I make you nervous? You've got a very loyal wife.
Behave.
I am, babe.
7 years, stuck in a coffin with you.
Don't embarrass yourself, David. Do you think I want him here?
Oh, no, do you?
No, I don't.
Good. That makes 2 of us. Someone has to do the dirty work.
What are you doing here? I'm in love with you.
What's he doing, stalking us?
Oh, David, do you think so?
Hey.
Who do you think you are?
You know who I am.
Alan Rickman, Polly Walker, and Norman Reedus. Dark Harbor.
Come on, baby, don't go. Look, I'm just in a weird mood. Don't be so sensitive. I said I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Look, I don't even usually like people doing that to me.
Oh, fuck.
You've got company.
Well, it's okay. Hi, sweetheart. This is my friend.
Hi, I was just on my way out.
Who was that? The plumber.
Come on, Marco. Fix up the house like you said.
Good.
Oh, the neck, man, the neck.
Don't worry, there was...
Transport, we are under attack. Taking rocket and small outfire off Come here. Oh, don't make it No, don't do it. Put it down. Come on, Anton. No!
Everybody, we have visitors. This is Chad and Barry, 2 nice boys who are selling Bibles door to door.
Hello, folks.
Sure, it's swell to make your acquaintance.
Seriously, Mother? Bible salesman? How could you fall for this time after time?
Please have a seat, and I'm going to get 2 extra place settings.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Kluber-Sturff.
Much obliged, ma'am.
Oh, how about that American football contest last evening? What an exciting match, huh?
I don't watch football. Where you fellas from?
Hollywood.
Oh, California boys, huh?
What the?
This is an awful lot of dells.
We could form an alliance, share the supplies.
What is this, a church picnic?
That, literally doesn't even make sense.
What is today? It's Norman Reedus' birthday, celebrated every January 6th. Happy birthday there, Norman Reedus. If you see Norman Reedus today, make sure to give him a big hug and a sloppy kiss. Perhaps not do that. How about just leave the dude alone? Unless you're his friend or family, and then you can give him a big hug and a sloppy kiss. Celebrate Harlem Globetrotters Day every celebrating them today. Was a Saturday morning cartoon produced by Hanna-Barbera and CBS Productions, featuring animated versions of players from that era of the basketball team of the same name. The show team members featured fictionalized versions of historical Globetrotters, Meadowlark Lemon, Freddie Curly Neal, Hubert Geese Osby, J.C. Gibb Gibson, Bobby Joe Mason, and Paul Pablo Robertson, all in animated form, alongside their fictional bus driver and manager Granny and their dog mascot Dribbles. The series worked to a formula where the team travels somewhere and typically gets involved in a local conflict that leads to one of the Globetrotters proposing a basketball game to settle the issue. To ensure the Globetrotters' defeat, the villains rigged the contest. However, before the second half of the contest, the team always finds a way to even the odds, become all but invincible, and win the game. It was a silly cartoon of the 70s that didn't last very long. The unanimated Harlem Globetrotters are an American exhibition basketball team. They combine athleticism. How the hell do you say that? Athleticism. I don't know. Theater and comedy in their style of play. Created in 1926 by Tommy Brookins in Chicago, Illinois, the team adopted the name Harlem because its connotations as a major African American community. Over the years, they have played more than 26,000 exhibition games in 124 countries and territories, mostly against deliberately ineffective opponents such as the Washington Generals and the New York Nationals. The team's signature song is Brother Bones' whistled version of Sweet George Brown, and their mascot is an anthropomorphized globe named Globey. The team is owned by the Hershen Family Entertainment. The game of basketball was developed in 1891 by James Naismith, a Canadian-American gymnast teacher in Springfield, U.S., and became one of the most popular sports in the world. The game consists of two teams of 5 separate players on each side vying against each other to shoot a basketball into the opponent's hoop while preventing them from shooting through their own hoop. Abe Saperstein founded the Harlem Globetrotters basketball team in 1926. The Globetrotters originated on the south side of Chicago, where all the original players were raised. The Globetrotters began as the Savoy Big Five, S-A-V-O. I'm not doing words in this commentary. S-A-V-O-Y Big Five, one of the premier attractions of the Savoy Ballroom. Oh my God. Opened in January of 1928, a basketball team of black American players that played exhibitions before dances due to declining dance attendance. In 1928, several players left the team in a dispute. That autumn, those players, led by Tommy Brookins, formed a team called the Globetrotters and toured southern Illinois. That spring, Abe Saberstein became involved with the team as its manager and promoter. By 1929, Saberstein was touring Illinois and Iowa with his basketball team called the New York Harlem Globetrotters. Saberstein selected the name Harlem because it then considered the center of black American culture, and the name Globetrotter to mythologize the team's international venues. The team embodies qualities of human persistence and creativity, founded when professional basketball was exclusively for white players. They decided to take basketball to another level, infusing comedy and entertainment. Over the decades, they won over 27,000 games. The Globetrotters were perennial participants in the World Professional Basketball Tournament, winning in 1940 in a heavily attended matchup. A few years later, the 1948 Globetrotters-Lakers game. The Globetrotters made headlines when they beat one of the best white basketball teams in the country, the Minneapolis Lakers. The Globetrotters continue to easily win games due to Harlem monopolizing the entire talent pool of the best black basketball players in the country. Once one of the most famous teams in the country, the Globetrotters were eventually eclipsed by the rise of the National Basketball Association, particularly when the NBA teams began fielding black players in the 1950s. In 1950, Harlem Globetrotter Chuck Cooper became the first black player to be drafted into the NBA by Boston, and teammate Nat Sweetwater Clifton became the first black player to sign an NBA contract when the New York Knicks purchased his contract from the Globetrotters for $12,500 in equivalent of 2021. That's $141,000. Harlem got $10,000 and Clifton got $2,500. I don't know. Think of that as you will. The Globetrotters gradually worked comic routines into their act, a direction the team had credited to Reese Goose Tatum, who joined in 1941 and eventually became known more for entertainment than sports. The Globetrotters' acts often featured incredible coordination and skillful handling of one or more basketballs, such as passing or juggling balls between players, balancing or spinning balls on their fingers, and making unusually difficult shots. In 1952, the Globetrotters invited Louis Red Klotz to create a team to accompany them on their tours. This team, the Washington Generals, who also played under various other names, became the Globetrotters' primary opponents. The Generals are effectively stooges for the Globetrotters, when the Globetrotters handily defeating them in thousands of games. A fact I had no idea about until researching the Globetrotters was a movie was produced revolving around the team. The Harlem Globetrotters is a 1951 sports drama film about the famous African-American basketball team, the Harlem Globetrotters, released by Columbia Pictures. The film stars Thomas Gomez, Bill Walker, Dorothy Dandridge, Angela Clark, and Peter M. Thompson. And the film premiered on television on Turner Classic Movies on May 29th of 2012. And they were also featured in a film titled Go Man Go in 1954. Go Man Go, American sports film directed by James Wong Howe, starring Dane Clark, Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, Patricia Breslin, the Harlem Globetrotters, and Slim Gaillard. Clark plays Abe Saberstein, the organizer of the Globetrotters. Poitier's character is Inman Jackson, the team's showboating center. We're currently seeing a scene from that movie. The film tracks the Globetrotters from humble beginnings through a triumph over a Major League Basketball team as they struggle to overcome racial discrimination. Actual Harlem Globetrotters players portray the team in basketball action throughout the picture, And the friendship between Saberstein and Jackson and their wives is an important storyline. In May 1967, New York City-based Metro Media announced that it would acquire the Globetrotters for $1 million, but the deal was never completed, and the team was later sold to George N. Gillette Jr., who soon formed a new company called Globetrotter Communications in 1968. 9 years after the company's attempted acquisition, in 1976, Metro Media announced that it would reacquire the Globetrotters for $11 million from Globetrotter Communications. Many famous basketball players have played for the Globetrotters, greats such as Wee Willie Gardner, Connie the Hawk Hawkins, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain, and Nat Sweetwater Clifton later joined the NBA. The Globetrotters signed their first female player, Olympic gold medalist Lynette Woodard, in 1985. Because nearly all of the team's players have been black, and as a result of the buffoonery involved in many of the Globetrotters skits, they drew some criticism during the Civil Rights era. The players were accused by some civil rights advocates of tomming for Abe, a reference to Uncle Tom and owner Abe Saberstein. However, prominent civil rights activist Jesse Jackson, who would later be named an honorary Globetrotter, came to their defense by stating, "I think they've been a positive influence. They did not show blacks as stupid. On the contrary, they were shown as superior." And there's always assholes out there that have to make a big deal out of nothing. But anyways, in 1986, as part of the spin-off of Metro Media's television stations to News Corporation in the 20th Century Fox Film Studio, the company sold the Globetrotters and the Ice Capades to the Minneapolis-based International Broadcasting Corporation, owners of KTAB-TV in Abilene, Texas, and controlled by Thomas Scallon for $30 million. In 1993, former Globetrotters player Manny Jackson purchased the team from the International Broadcasting Corporation, which was on the verge of bankruptcy. In 1995, Orlando Antiquiel became the first Hispanic player on the team. Sorry, Orlando, if I mispronounced your last name. He was the first non-black player on the Globetrotters roster since Bob Karstens played with the squad in 1942 and 1943. While parts of a modern exhibition game are pre-planned, the games themselves are not fixed. Whether opponents do not interfere with the Globetrotters' hijinks while on the defense, they play a serious game when in possession of the ball, and about 20 to 30% of the game is real. This once led to an infamous defeat at the hands of the Washington Generals in 1971 to the distress of the watching crowd after the Globetrotters lost track of a big lead with their tricks and Generals hit a game-winning buzzer beater. It reminds me of, wrestling as far as I'm concerned, but that's just my personal opinion. Today, the Harlem Globetrotters are still going strong, and you can check out their latest happenings by visiting the link you see right here. What is today? It's Harlem Globetrotters Day on January 7th. It's a day to honor and remember the achievements of this great basketball team and all other teams worldwide. So until next time.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
What is today? Dust off your rubber ducky this winter because it's National Bubble Bath Day on January 8th. Many of us remember bubble baths from our childhoods, and if you've never had a bubble bath before, then it's definitely an observance to try it out. The soapy bubbles of these foaming baths are luxurious and ideal for pampering yourself after a hard day. There's nothing quite like slipping into the hot water of a bubble bath for a nice, relaxing soak in the tub. And at times, it's even more fun when you're not alone, if you know what I mean. Let's be honest, when is the last time you had a bubble bath? A hot bubble bath will relax your muscles, refresh your skin, and help with any congestion you might have. It will even clean your bathtub. For National Bubble Bath Day, join us in celebrating the healthful benefits and all-out luxury of these sudsy soaks. What is today? Well, it's January 9th, of course, and that can only mean one thing. National Apricot Day. I hope you shopped early and already filled out your Hallmark Apricot Day cards, as your time to do so is over. Today is the day. Apricots, often confused with their sister fruit peaches, are juicy golden orange fruits that emerge in the spring. They are delicious, healthy, versatile, and a fan favorite in many different forms. The apricot is a member of Rosaceae or something like that, or the rose family. Along with over 4,000 other species of plants, apricots belong to a subdivision of fruits within this family known as drupes, having thin skin, pulpy middle, and hard center with a seed. Some other drupes related to apricots are plums, peaches, and cherries. You can find several different varieties of apricots, and they're all delicious. What is today? It's January 10th. It's Peculiar People Day. It's my kind of day. It's a day I can get behind because I'm not exactly normal. Today is the day to band together and is our opportunity to recognize and celebrate those who refuse to conform to the world's idea of normal. It is always the people who are turned peculiar, different, strange, or abnormal that set the world in motion because they live out of the box. They refuse to accept and live by the status quo and have the courage to do and be different. Whenever the world has seen innovation, it has always been the idea and effort of someone who just didn't accept things as they are. So let's honor those uniquely different people on this day. Okay? Does that sound good? What is today? National Learn Your Name in Morse Code Day is generally celebrated on January 11th. Morse code is a method of telecommunication used to encode messages in a sequence called dashes or dots, or dits and das, which sound like clicks. I'm going to use this website. The link will be in the description to see what my name sounds like in Morse code. There is no record of how this day originated or by whom. Samuel Morse created the system in the 1830s with the help of his assistant, Alfred Lewis Vail. Morse code was later improved by an American scientist, Joseph Henry. They were the ones who modified this electronic mode of communication and unveiled it on January 11th of 1838. The main use of the Morse code these days is within ham radio or amateur radio clubs. What is today? Remembrance Day in Haiti is held on January 12th each year to pay tribute to the victims of the January 2010 earthquake, a natural disaster that devastated the nation. The 2010 earthquake caused immense destruction to life and property and led to around 300,000 lives lost, according to the Haitian government, although an official death toll remains uncertain. The Jour de Remembrance, as it is called in French, and forgive me if I mispronounce because I am not French. French is one of the two official languages used in Haiti. Remembrance Day commemorates all the Haitians and others who fell victim to this devastating earthquake. Today, we think of the people who left this earth and others throughout the centuries who have succumbed to Mother Nature. She can be a real bitch sometimes. What is today? Earlier this week, we observed National Bubble Bath Day, so how fitting we celebrate the number one toy to bring with you at that bath time. Sesame Street's Ernie isn't the only fan of the bath accessory. The country celebrates the toy on National Rubber Ducky Day on January 13th. The popular toy has seen a lot of variations in its history. First designed in the 1800s when rubber manufacturing began, the duck was then made out of plastic and vinyl during both world wars as rubber was scarce. The Ducky toy was first patented in 1928 by Landon Smart Lawrence, but the toy was a little heavier back then. He put a weight in it to make sure it would always stay upright. If you're ever out in the ocean, you might just run into a rubber ducky. 28,000 rubber ducks on their way via boat to Washington went overboard during a storm in 1992. Be on the lookout and be sure to celebrate their big day on January 13th. What is today? It's National Dress Up Your Pet Day on January 14th, and we want you to go all out. Celebrate by dressing up your furry family member in comfortable pet clothing, maybe even get matching outfits if you want to get crazy. Why do people insist on doing this? I do not know. I never got it. Pets don't need clothes. If it were any normal day, people would be staring at you and your dog in the street. However, on National Dress Up Your Pet Day, matching outfits are not only accepted, but also encouraged. And who is responsible for this holiday? National Dress Up Your Pet Day was started in 2009 by celebrity pet lifestyle expert and animal behaviorist Colleen Page. It celebrates pets and helps to support the pet fashion community. The chance only comes once a year to wow the neighbors and to unleash the inner diva of your favorite pooch. So make sure your dog and your pet is dressed for the occasion. What is today? National Bagel Day is January 15th. Bagels have a history that is richer than your favorite cream cheese spread. These rounds of dough can be found just about anywhere. Breakfast joints, coffee shops, supermarkets, or even your kitchen pantry. In fact, in 2022, it saw more than 354 million bagels sold. A bagel is a bread roll originating in the Jewish communities of Poland. It is traditionally shaped by hand into a roughly hand-sized ring from yeasted wheat dough that is first boiled for a short time in water and then baked. The result is a dense, chewy, doughy interior with a brown and sometimes crisp exterior. Then top this tasty treat with a plethora of various cream cheese flavors and other toppings. Egg salad is one of my favorites. Don't judge. What is today? Each year on the third Monday of January, we observe Martin Luther King Jr. Day and reflect on the work that still needs to be done for racial equality. This year, the day falls on January 16th.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist minister and activist, one of the most prominent leaders in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968, an African-American church leader and a son of early civil rights activist and minister Martin Luther King Sr. King advanced civil rights for people of color in the United States through nonviolence and civil disobedience. Inspired by his Christian beliefs and the nonviolent activism of Mahatma Gandhi, he led targeted nonviolent resistance against Jim Crow laws and other forms of discrimination. King was one of the leaders of the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his I Have a Dream speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, The life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. Not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
The Civil Rights Movement achieved pivotal legislative gains in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. On October 14th of 1964, King won the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through nonviolent resistance. In 1965, he helped organize 2 of the 3 Selma to Montgomery marches. In his final years, he expanded his focus to include opposition to poverty, capitalism, and the Vietnam War. In 1968, King was planning a national occupation of Washington, D.C. to be called the Poor People's Campaign when he was assassinated on April 4th in Memphis, Tennessee. His death was followed by national mourning as well as anger, leading to riots in many U.S. cities. King was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977 and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2003. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established as a holiday in cities and states throughout the United States beginning in 1971. The holiday was enacted at the federal level by legislation signed by President Ronald Reagan in 1986. Hundreds of streets in the U.S. have been renamed to his honor, and the most populous county in Washington state was rededicated to him. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. was dedicated in 2011. What is today? Martin Luther King's unparalleled contributions to racial justice for Black Americans have been revolutionary. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, or MLK Day, observed on the third Monday of January, schools and offices are closed, but people fully participate in remembering and honoring everything King has accomplished. Make the holiday more than just a day off and take time to reflect and take action on civil rights issues across the globe. What is today? We are celebrating Popeye Day on January 17th. Popeye made his debut appearance in the comic strip called Thimble Theater. L.Z. Chrysler, E.C. Seeger created it on January 17th of 1929. The comic was originally centered around olive oil, but the popularity of Popeye changed that. By 1933, Popeye had his own cartoon series. I Am What I Am is the first cartoon with Popeye as the main character. Fleischer Studios released the cartoon between 1933 and 1942. Even after a century, Popeye remains one of the most popular comics ever produced. E.C. Seeger's Thimble Theater debuted in the New York Journal on December 19th of 1919. The paper's owner, William Randolph Hearst, also owned King Features Syndicate, which syndicated the strip. Thimble Theater was intended as a replacement for midget movies by Ed Whelan, who had recently resigned from King Features. While initially failing to attract a large audience, the strip nonetheless increasingly accumulated a modest following as the 1920s continued. At the end of its first decade, the strip resiliently appeared in over a dozen newspapers and had acquired a corresponding Sunday strip, which had debuted on January 25th of 1925 within the Hearst-owned New York American paper. Thimble Theater's first main characters were the lanky, long-nosed slacker Harold Hamgravy, rapidly shortened to simply Hamgravy, and his headstrong, neurotic girlfriend Olive Oyl. In its earliest weeks, the strip featured the duo alongside a rotating cast of primary one-shot characters, acting out various stories and scenarios in a sporadic, theatrical style. As its first year progressed, however, numerous elements of this premise would be relinquished, including the recurring character Willie Wormwood, introduced as a parody of melodrama villainy, soon rendering the strip a series of episodic comic anecdotes depicting the daily life and dysfunctional romantic exploits of Hamgravy and Olive Oyl. It could be classified as a gag-a-day comic in those days. In mid-1922, Seeger began to increasingly engage in lengthier, often months-long storylines. By the end of the following year, the strip had effectively transitioned fully into a comedy-adventure style, focalizing Ham, Olive, and Olive's ambitious but myopic diminutive brother Castor Oyl, initially a minor character, yet arguably the protagonist of the strip by 1924. Castor and Olive's parents, Cole and Nana Oyl, also made frequent appearances. By the late 1920s, the strip had likewise acquired a number of notable characters beyond the sphere of Hamgravy and the Oyl family, including Castor Oyl's wife, Celinda, to whom he was married from 1926 to 1928, her wealthy, misanthropic father, Mr. Lotz, and Castor's fighting Cockerel Blizzard. Cockerel? Whatever that is. All of whom had vanished or more explicitly exited the strip by the close of 1928. Popeye first appeared in the strip on January 17th of 1929 as a minor character. He was initially hired by Castor Oyl and Hamgravy to crew a ship for a voyage to Dice Island, the location of a casino owned by crooked gambler Fadewell. Castor intended to break the bank at the casino using the unbeatable good luck conferred by stroking the hairs on the head of Bernice, the wiffle hen. Weeks later on the trip back, Popeye was shot many times by Jack Snork, a stooge of Fadewell's, but survived by rubbing Bernice's head. After the adventure, Popeye left the strip, but owing to reader reaction, he was brought back after an absence of only 5 weeks. Popeye became so popular that he was given a larger role by the following year, and the strip was taken up by many more newspapers as a result. Initial strips presented Olive as being less than impressed with Popeye, but she eventually left Ham to become Popeye's girlfriend, precipitating Ham's exit as a regular in mid-1930. Over the years, however, she has often displayed a fickle attitude towards the sailor. Initially, Castor Oyl continued to come up with get-rich-quick schemes and enlisted Popeye in his misadventures. By 1932, however, he settled down as a detective and later on bought a ranch out west. Castor's appearances became sparser over time. As Castor faded from the strip, J. Wellington Wimpy, a soft-spoken and eloquent, yet cowardly hamburger-loving moocher who would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, was introduced into the Sunday strip, in which he became a fixture by late 1932. After first appearing in the Daily Strip in March 1933, Wimpy became a full-time major character alongside Popeye and Olive. In July 1933, Popeye received a foundling baby in the mail whom he adopted and named Sweet Pea. Other regular characters introduced into the strip following its retool in 1930 were George W. Giesel, an easily angered cobbler who spoke in a heavy accent and attempts to murder or wish death upon Wimpy; Roughhouse, the temperamental owner of a budget diner, who serves as a long-suffering foil to Wimpy; Eugene the Jeep, a yellow, vaguely dog-like animal from Africa with magical powers; the Sea Hag, a terrible pirate; and the last witch on Earth, Alice the Goon, a monstrous creature who entered the strip as the Sea Hag's henchwoman and continued as Sweet Pea's babysitter; the hapless, perpetually anxious King Blozo, Popeye's offensive father, Poop Deck Peppy, and Tor, an ageless, dim-witted caveman. Seeger's strip was quite different from its theatrical cartoons that followed. The stories were more complex, often spanning months, with many characters that never appeared in the cartoons, among them King Blazo, Tor, Roughhouse. Spinach usage, a trait introduced in July of 1931, was comparatively infrequent, and Bluto appeared within only a story arc. Seeger signed some of his early Popeye comic strips with a cigar, his last name being a homophone of cigar, pronounced cigar. All right, did he sign it with a cigar, or did he sign it with a cigar in his hand? I'm not sure exactly what that means. Anyways, comic historian Brian Walker stated, Seeger offered up a masterful blend of comedy, fantasy, satire, and suspense in Thimble Theater starring Popeye. In 1933, Max Fleischer adapted the Thimble Theater characters into a series of Popeye the Sailor theatrical cartoon shorts for Paramount Pictures. These cartoons proved to be among the most popular of the 1930s, and Fleischer Studios, which later became Paramount's own Famous Studios, continued production through 1957. Cartoons produced during World War II included Allied propaganda, as was common among cartoons at the time. These cartoon shorts are now owned by Turner Entertainment and distributed by its sister company, Warner Brothers. Following Seeger's illness and eventual death in 1938, with his final Thimble Theater strip appearing on October 2nd of that year, numerous people were hired to draw and write the strip. Over the years, Popeye has also appeared in comic books, television cartoons, video games, hundreds of advertisements, peripheral products ranging from spinach to candy, cigarettes, and the 1980 live-action film directed by Robert Altman and starring the late and great Robin Williams as Popeye. On January 1st of 2009, 70 years after the death of his creator, Seeger's comic strips became public domain in most countries, but remain under copyright in the U.S. because Seeger was an employee of King Features Syndicate. When he created the Thimble Theater strip, it is treated as a work for hire under U.S. copyright law. Works for hire are protected for 95 years from publication or 120 years from creation, whichever is shorter. As of 2023, Thimble Theater comic strips from 1919 through 1927 have entered the public domain, none of which feature Popeye. Even after the strips enter the public domain, trademarks regarding Popeye remain with King Features, as trademarks do not expire unless they cease to be used, and King Features has used the trademark continuously since the character's debut. What is today? Popeye Day on January 17th. The iconic character still dominates the cartoon industry thanks to the brilliant portrayal of the character and the depth of the story. Popeye is one of the most successful franchises to ever exist. Remember that you are who you are, and don't forget to eat your spinach. Oh, yeah. What is today? Winnie the Pooh has been a childhood favorite for generations. Originally created in 1926, his stories have sparked wholesome, honey-loving childhood dreams for nearly a century. Although there are many other characters within the Pooh universe, Kanga, Rabbit, Roo, and Tigger, just to name a few, there is no doubt that the bear wearing a red shirt with his fist shoved into a jar of honey is most certainly a fan favorite. National Winnie the Pooh Day on January 18th is your time to return to the 100-acre wood. Winnie the Pooh, also called Pooh Bear, and Pooh is a fictional anthropomorphic teddy bear. Anthropomorphic meaning having human characteristics. Pooh was created by English author A.A. Milne and English illustrator E.H. Shepard. Christopher Robin's teddy bear made his character debut under the name Edward in A.A. Milne's poem Teddy Bear in the edition of the February 13th, 1940 1924 issue of Punch, which was a British weekly magazine of humor and satire. E.H. Shepard had also included a similar bear in a cartoon published the previous week, and the same poem was published in Milne's book of children's verse, When We Were Very Young, November 6th of 1924. Winnie the Pooh first appeared by name on December 24th of 1925 in A Christmas Story commissioned and published by the London newspaper Evening News. It was illustrated by J.H. Dodd. The first collection of stories about the character was the book Winnie the Pooh in 1926, and this was followed by The House at Pooh Corner, 1928. Milne also included a poem about the bear in the children's first book, When We Were Very Young, already mentioned, that was 1924, and many more in Now We Are Six, that was 1927. All 4 volumes were illustrated by E.H. Shepard. The Pooh stories have been translated into many languages, including Alexander Leonard's Latin translation, Winnie le Pooh, which was first published in 1958 and in 1960 became the only Latin book ever to have been featured on the New York Times bestseller list. A. Milne named the character Winnie the Pooh after a teddy bear owned by his son, Christopher Robin Milne, on whom the character Christopher Robin was based. Shepard in turn based his illustrations of Pooh on his own son's teddy bear named Growler instead of Christopher Robin's bear. The rest of Christopher Milne's toys, Piglet, Eeyore, Kanga, Roo, and Tigger, were incorporated into Milne's stories. 2 more characters, Owl and Rabbit, were created by Milne's imagination, while Gopher was added to the Disney version. Christopher Robin's toy bear is on display at the main branch of the New York Public Library in New York City.
I invite children of all ages, from the youngest to the oldest, to come in and view our newly restored Winnie the Pooh and Friends. Winnie has been gone for over a year to get restored, a little medical checkup or some time at the spa. Winnie will be 95 on August 21st, so please come in and fill out a birthday card and enjoy the toys, read some stories, and share some rhymes.
Christopher Robin Milne had named his toy bear after Winnie, a Canadian black bear he often saw at London Zoo, and Pooh, a friend's pet swan they had encountered while on holiday. The bear cub was purchased from a hunter for $20 Canadian by Canadian Lieutenant Harry Colborne in White River, Ontario, while en route to England during the First World War. Colborne, a veterinary officer with the Fort Garry Horse Cavalry Regiment, named the bear Winnie after his adopted hometown in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Winnie was secretively brought to England with her owner and gained unofficial recognition as the Fort Garry Horse Regiment mascot. Colborne left Winnie at the London Zoo while he and his unit were in France. After the war, she was officially donated to the zoo as she had become a much-loved attraction there. Pooh the Swan appears as a character in its own right in When We Were Very Young. The Winnie the Pooh stories are set in Ashton Forest, East Sussex, England. The forest is an area of tranquil open heathland on the highest sandy ridges of the high-wheeled area of outstanding beauty, situated 30 miles southeast of London. A. Milne died at his home in Hartfield, Sussex on January 31st of 1956, nearly 2 weeks after his 74th birthday. After a memorial service in London, his ashes were scattered in a crematorium's memorial garden in Brighton. The rights to A. Milne's Pooh books were left to 4 beneficiaries: his family, the Royal Literary Fund, Westminster School, and the Garrick Club. After Milne's death in 1956, his widow sold her rights to the Pooh's characters to Stephen Schlesinger, whose widow sold the rights after Schlesinger's death to the Walt Disney Company, which has made many Pooh cartoon movies, a Disney Channel television show, as well as Pooh-related merchandise. In 1961, Walt Disney Productions licensed certain films and other rights of Milne's Winnie the Pooh stories from the estate of A. Milne, and the licensing agent Stephen Schlesinger incorporated and adopted the Pooh stories, using the unhyphened name Winnie the Pooh into a series of features that would eventually become one of its most successful franchises. In popular film adaptations, Pooh has been voiced by actors Sterling Holloway, Hal Smith, and Jim Cummings in English, and Yevgeny Leonov in Russian. Sorry if I missed that there. Pooh videos, soft toys, and other merchandise generate substantial annual revenues for Disney. The size of Pooh stuffed toys ranges from beanie and miniature to human-sized. In addition to the stylized Disney Pooh, Disney markets classic Pooh merchandise with more closely resembles E.H. Shepard's illustrations. Of course, when you have a franchise as big as Pooh, you know lawsuits are going to be part of the history. It's a damn shame that greed always finds its way into something wholesome. And with that said, in 1991, Steven Schlesinger Incorporated filed a lawsuit against Disney which alleged that Disney had breached their 1983 agreement by again failing to accurately report revenue from Winnie the Pooh sales. Under this agreement, Disney was to retain approximately 98% of gross worldwide revenue, while the remaining 2% was to be paid to Schlesinger. In addition, the suit alleged that Disney had failed to pay the required royalties on all commercial exploitation of the product. Why do we have to say exploitation? Though the Disney Corporation was sanctioned by a judge for destroying 40 boxes of evidentiary documents, the suit was later terminated by another judge when it was discovered that Schlesinger's investigator had rummaged through Disney's garbage to retrieve the discarded evidence. Schlesinger appealed the termination, and on September 26 of 2007, the three-judge panel upheld the lawsuit dismissal. People are ridiculous. After the Copyright Term Extension Act of 1998, Claire Milne, Christopher Robin Milne's daughter, attempted to terminate any future U.S. copyrights for Steven Schlesinger Incorporated. After a series of legal hearings, Judge Florence Marie Cooper of the U.S. District Court in California found in favor of Steven Schlesinger Incorporated, as did the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. On June 26, 2006, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the case, sustaining the ruling and ensuring the defeat of the suit. On February 19th of 2007, Disney lost a court case in Los Angeles, which ruled their misguided claims to dispute the licensing agreements with Schlesinger Incorporated was unjustified, but a federal ruling on September 28th of 2009, again from Judge Florence Marie Cooper, determined that the Schlesinger family had granted all trademarks and copyrights to Disney. Although Disney must pay royalties for all future use of the characters, both parties have expressed satisfaction with the outcome. On January 1st of 2022, numerous works entered the public domain, including A.A. Milne's original Winnie the Pooh stories. Although Disney's version of Pooh is protected by copyright, the company no longer exclusively owns the rights to Winnie the Pooh. The silly old bear is even being reimagined as a killer in an upcoming horror film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I'm sure that's what A.A. Milne and E.H. Shepard had in mind when they created the characters. Please don't watch this movie. It looks like a piece of crap anyways. What is today? To celebrate National Winnie the Pooh Day on this 18th of January, share the magic of this wonderful character by introducing him to a child in your life. Seeing the magic of Winnie through the eyes of children is quite an experience. What is today? Join us on January 19th as we celebrate National Popcorn Day. Buttered, salted, kettled, and drizzled with caramel, popcorn is one of those snacks perfect anytime. Did you know that the corn we eat and the corn we pop are two different varieties of maize? In fact, the corn you'd find on your dinner table is most likely unable to pop at all. Only one variety of corn is able to become popcorn, Zea maize verte. This particular corn variety has small ears, and the kernels burst when exposed to dry heat. Aztecs used popcorn to decorate their clothes, create ceremonial embellishments, and also for nourishment. French explorers who traveled to the New World discovered popcorn being made by the Iroquois natives in the Great Lakes region. As colonists moved around North America and as the U.S. came to be, many people adopted popcorn as a popular and healthy snack. What is today? You can be a little naughty today. International Fetish Day is held annually on the third Friday in January, and this year it falls on January 20th. It is a day primarily set aside to increase awareness and support of BDSM, erotic practices between consenting adults. It also encourages members of the community to be more open about their sexuality. International Fetish Day opposes the law criminalizing fetishes tagged as extreme pornography. Are you aware that fetishes that are usually practiced are harmless and can help those who practice in expressing them to reach their highest levels of sexual satisfaction? This day is an important one that helps to promote this knowledge and the acceptance of people. Shelve your inhibitions, get out those handcuffs, prepare the candles, pick up that Wesson oil at your favorite supermarket, fill the ice cube trays, put on that little Bo Peep costume, and have yourself a fantastic International Fetish Day. What is today? Open up your heart and your arms this January 21st for National Hugging Day. As you might guess, this day is an annual event dedicated to the underrated art form of the hug. We love all types of hugs, from the one-armed bro hug to full bear hugs, so let's get hugging. A hug is a form of endearment universal in most human communities in which two or more people put their arms around the neck, back, or the waist of one another and hold each other closely. If more than two people are involved, it may be referred to as a group hug. Hugs can last for any duration. Hugging has been proven to have health benefits. One study has even shown that hugs increase levels of oxytocin and reduce blood pressure. Hugging can also buffer against the release of the stress hormone cortisol if a romantic partner hug is shared before a stressful situation. We all need a hug on National Hugging Day and every day. What is today? Some people can't live without hot sauce made from chili peppers and other ingredients. Spicy sauce lovers will put it on everything from eggs to sandwiches to steak. National Hot Sauce Day on January 22nd is an excellent opportunity to show your appreciation for your favorite hot sauce. They come in a variety of styles, usually based on regionally available ingredients. They're also a staple in the culinary cultures of many countries throughout the world. On this day, I also want to acknowledge one of my personal favorite shows on YouTube. The show is called Hot Ones, and the host is one Sean Evans. Its basic premise involves celebrities being interviewed by Evans over a platter of increasingly spicy chicken wings. Make sure to tour the international aisle of your local grocer and pick up a couple of different hot sauces from regions around the world. Invite your friends over to celebrate. Make it a party on National Hot Sauce Day. If you happen to be watching this channel and you're wondering if I make these days up, no, I only report them and make videos on them. What is today? Measure Your Feet Day is celebrated on January 23rd of every year. If you heard about the observance and scrunched up your face in confusion about why we need a day for measuring your feet, then Measure Your Feet Day is most certainly for you. The feet are one of the most overlooked parts of the body. Most people don't give any special attention to their feet. Measure Your Feet Day has a deeper purpose than simply getting people to whip out measuring tapes and compare feet sizes for bragging rights. Very few people know their true shoe size, and this means that most people's shoes are either too tight or too loose. This leads to pain and discomfort in feet. So in truth, Measure Your Feet Day is really about foot health. What is today? Belly Laugh Day is on January 24th. And we're here to help you celebrate the day in a way that will probably give you stomach cramps. You can practice your best Santa Claus impressions with your round little belly. You can shake when you laugh like a bowl full of jelly. Global Belly Laugh Day was created by Elaine Haley in June of 2005. Elaine is a certified laughter yoga teacher. How the hell do you get one of those certifications? I do not know. Elaine thought we had holidays that embraced love, gave thanks, we practiced colorful wrapped present giving. Why don't we celebrate the great gift of laughter? You can't beat that logic. Thus, Global Belly Laugh Day, January 24th, was born. Joy is a strength. Smiling and laughing uplift the spirit. Belly Laugh Day is a day to chuckle, laugh, and celebrate the good things in life. What is today? National Irish Coffee Day is celebrated on January 25th, and we think it's the perfect occasion to warm yourself up with a tasty, boozy treat. Coffee is a beverage that is beloved by billions of people all over the world for its delicious flavors, as well as its caffeinating properties. But adding the special ingredient that turns it into Irish coffee takes it from something out of the daily grind and turns it into something special and rare. There has been several claims as to how the beverage was developed over time, but if you think about it, this practice has probably been around since coffee and whiskey existed together. I don't know about you, but I've mixed whiskey with pretty much anything. Regardless of its origins, it's hard to think of a better way to celebrate National Irish Coffee Day than by indulging in a giant cup of Irish coffee goodness. Kick back, relax, and savor the flavor, baby. What is today? We celebrate National Clashing Clothes Day on the fourth Thursday in January of every year. On this day, people are encouraged to dress in clashing clothing items from head to toe. Anything that is neutral color like white, black, or gray is a no-go today. Today is merely a day to have fun with your outfit and show up in the brightest, silliest of hues without the fashion police raining on your parade. Mix colors, prints, and textures, and you'll be clash-tastic in no time. Who cares about rules, fashion trends, and most importantly, about what people think? That's the true message of Clashing Clothes Day. Let's show the rich snobs, the elitists, and let's not dress for their success. Let's dress for ourselves. Let's put that old proverb on its head that states clothing makes the man, or woman, or anyone. No, 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 clothes don't make the person. It's what's on the inside and not what we're wearing. What is today? Thomas Crapper Day is celebrated every year on January 27th, the death anniversary of the famous English businessman. While Thomas Crapper was not the inventor of the toilet, which is a common misconception, he did perfect and promote it. While the original flush toilet was functional, Crapper added a dash of elegance to the design. His designs even save water by adding the ball cock that stops water flowing into the toilet when the tank is full. It has often been claimed in popular culture that the profane slang term for a human bodily waste crap originated with Thomas Crapper because of his association with lavatories. Its most likely origin is a combination of two older words, the Dutch krappen, to pluck off, cut off, or separate, and the Old French crap, sifting's waste or rejected matter, from the medieval Latin crappa. Thomas Crapper Day is the day of celebration for this man and all he did to bring a revolutionary change in the toilet world and made going to the potty so much easier. What is today? The colorful plastic bricks known as Lego have entertained children and adults around the world for nearly 70 years. Lego consists of a variety of colored interlocking plastic bricks, accompanying an array of gears, figurines called minifigures, and various other parts. Lego is used to make toy buildings, vehicles, creatures, machines, and anything imaginable. National Lego Day on January 28th celebrates these incredibly ingenious and enriching toys. Lego is a line of plastic construction toys that are manufactured by the Lego Group, a privately held company based in Billund, Denmark. The Lego Group began manufacturing the company's interlocking toy bricks in 1949. 600 billion Lego parts have been produced. Dust off your old Lego set or use your kids and tinker around for a while. It's good for relaxation and mental stimulation. You can even submit your own ideas to Lego. I'll have the link to how to do that in the description. What is today? Curmudgeon's Day is celebrated in honor of all the cranky and fussy people in our lives. Curmudgeon's Day is an annual celebration observed on January 29th of every year. Curmudgeon's Day is one of those holidays most people find hard to believe is real. There's no need to worry, though, because you don't have to be grumpy to celebrate it. Curmudgeon's Day is celebrated in honor of William Claude Duckenfield, who was born on January 29th of 1880 and was a famous comedian and self-professed curmudgeon. If you're an old guy like me, you'll know that William Claude Duckenfield also went by the name of W.C. Fields. Celebrate those cranky and cantankerous people in your life with such a celebration and make them shine for the whole day. It is an official holiday to stay at home all day and do nothing. Others celebrate the day with grouchy activities, or take a few moments to appreciate your life and why you really shouldn't be grumpy. What is today National Draw a Dinosaur Day on January 30th celebrates the mysticism and magic that surrounds these magnificent animals that once roamed the world eons ago. On this day, kids and adults paint and sketch all types of dinosaurs. On a seemingly unassuming day in 2007, a student named Todd Page was attending an anthropology class. To relieve the boredom, he put pen to paper and out of nowhere drew a dinosaur. He found it fun and stimulating. He motivated his classmates to sketch dinosaurs as well, and he decided to create a day when folks could let their imaginations run wild by drawing the most mystical creatures that have inhabited our planet. Todd Page registered the day, January 30th, as National Draw a Dinosaur Day and popularized it through social media. Since then, folks across the United States and Canada draw a dinosaur on the day and share their creations over social media. What is today? We love a day that lets us unleash our inner primate, even if it is in a suit. I'm talking a gorilla suit on Gorilla Suit Day, of course, which comes around on January 31st of each year. This King Kong-sized day is meant to honor the monkey suits that are worn on Halloween at costume parties, movies, and sometimes, hey, just for fun. As all gorilla suit aficionados know, National Gorilla Suit Day is the invention of the late Don Martin, once known as Mad's Maddest Artist. The holiday featured prominently in his 1963 paperback collection. The story features people in gorilla suits, gorillas in people suits, gorillas in gorilla suits, and some of each in various other disguises in a 56-page extravaganza full of Martin's trademark absurd violence and giggle-inducing sound effects. Beat your chest, chew on those bananas, and gorilla yourself silly on Gorilla Suit Day.